What in the world is something that almost nobody bothers to counterfeit? First up, coins. And we're not talking about $100 bills. We're talking about the small change in your pocket. Making counterfeit coins isn't easy. Producing real coins requires industrial-grade equipment and a complex manufacturing process involving metal rolling, blanking, annealing, plating, stamping, engraving, and many other precision steps. Modern coins are typically made from nickel-plated steel or copper-plated alloys. If you wanted to fake one, you'd first need to get the exact type of metal. Then you'd have to stamp incredibly detailed designs onto a metal disc that's only about 2 centimeters wide, complete with tiny security features. Even if you somehow mastered the technology, you'd still need expensive, high-precision industrial presses and CNC machinery. A small workshop simply couldn't produce convincing coins, and after paying for the equipment, electricity, labor, and materials, each fake coin would end up costing more than the coin's actual value. But there was one exception. Several years ago, a man decided to do exactly that. He figured everyone was counterfeiting paper money, so why not make fake coins instead? He believed coins had fewer security features and would be harder for people to notice. So he spent years studying the process, invested heavily in specialized machinery, and worked day and night. After a month of non-stop work, he finally produced about $22,000 worth of fake $1 coins. The problem, when he calculated the expenses, he'd spent nearly $25,000 making them. Even worse, he was arrested before spending a single coin. Another thing that almost nobody counterfeits is duck meat. You've probably heard of fake beef or fake lamb, but have you ever heard someone complain about fake duck? That's because duck is already incredibly cheap. In many markets, raw duck costs only around 80 cents per pound. Compared with other meats, there's simply no financial incentive to replace it with something else. Could someone use rat meat instead? Not really. Ignoring how disgusting that would be, catching, processing, and preparing rats would cost more than raising ducks. Besides, rats don't provide enough meat to make it worthwhile. Commercial ducks also grow remarkably fast. With modern farming methods, many ducks reach market size in only about 40 days. Finally, there's one more product surrounded by endless internet rumors: eggs. For years, videos have claimed that fake eggs are being manufactured, but the truth is that virtually every normal egg you buy was laid by a real chicken. Creating an artificial egg that's truly convincing would be incredibly difficult. A real eggshell is made mostly of calcium carbonate and contains thousands of microscopic pores that allow gases to pass through. Inside the shell are two delicate membranes, layers of thick and thin egg white, and a yolk held in place by tiny twisted strands called chalazae, which act like shock absorbers to keep the yolk centered. Trying to recreate all of those structures artificially would be extraordinarily complex. Even with modern technology, producing a seamless, breathable eggshell with the same microscopic structure isn't practical. So if you ever buy an egg with unusual spots or markings, don't assume it's fake. It's almost certainly just a perfectly real egg from a perfectly real chicken. The world's funniest military story. A country sent 80 soldiers to war, and 81 came home. It happened in 1866 when Austro-Prussian War broke out between Prussia and Austria. Soon, Italy joined the conflict as Prussia's ally. Caught in the middle was tiny Liechtenstein. Wanting to support Austria, the country decided to send troops. There was just one problem. Liechtenstein had a population of only around 30,000 people. After scraping together everyone they could find, they managed to assemble a force of just 80 men. Many of them were ordinary farmers who had barely, if ever, handled a rifle. The Austrian commanders figured that even a small force could still be useful, so they stationed the Liechtensteiners in the Tyrol region to guard the mountain passes against a possible Italian attack. When they arrived, they found the Italian troops camped on the other side of a river. At first, both sides watched each other carefully, expecting an attack at any moment. But after a few days, something became obvious. The Italians didn't seem interested in fighting. Every day they fired a few ceremonial shots into the air and then called it a day. To be fair, the Italians were thinking the same thing. Why are we even here? We were just sent to make up the numbers. Once both sides realized neither wanted to fight, they quietly agreed to leave each other alone. As time passed, the soldiers became surprisingly friendly. They started crossing over to each other's camps, trading food and supplies. The Italians brought wine and sausages. The Liechtenstein soldiers shared mountain goods from home. Sometimes they'd eat together, sing songs, and then head back to their own camps before nightfall. The war eventually ended with Austria's defeat. Neither the Liechtenstein nor the Italian soldiers in that sector suffered a single casualty, and everyone headed home, or so they thought. When Liechtenstein counted its soldiers after returning, something didn't add up. They had sent 80 men, but 81 came back. After investigating, they discovered an Austrian liaison officer had accidentally joined the Liechtenstein unit during the march home. Instead of returning to Austria, he simply stayed with them. According to the story, he liked the country so much that he settled in Liechtenstein permanently. This has to be one of the craziest court cases you've ever heard. Back in 1968, an American lawyer who loved smoking cigars spent a fortune at an auction on a box of rare, expensive cigars. To protect his investment, he bought a fire insurance policy for them. In other words, if the cigars were damaged by fire, the insurance company would have to compensate him. Over the next month, however, he couldn't resist smoking every single one. Then he came up with a ridiculous idea. He contacted the insurance company and claimed that his cigars had been destroyed by fire, so he wanted to file a claim. The insurance representative asked him what kind of fire had caused the damage. The lawyer calmly replied, "Nothing major, just a series of small fires. About 3 a day, morning, afternoon, and evening." The employee was stunned. "You smoked them? And now you're asking us to pay for them?" The company immediately denied his claim. Furious, the lawyer sued the insurance company. When the judge reviewed the insurance policy, he noticed something interesting. The contract covered damage caused by fire, but it never specifically defined what type of fire qualified. Technically, the cigars had indeed been destroyed by a series of small fires, so the judge ruled in the lawyer's favor and ordered the insurance company to pay him $15,000. The insurer had no choice but to pay. That same night, they reportedly updated their insurance policies to make sure nothing like this could ever happen again. But the story didn't end there. After collecting the money, the lawyer returned to the insurance company with another box of cigars, proudly showing off his victory. The company had had enough. They immediately contacted the police. This time, the lawyer was arrested on suspicion of 24 counts of arson. Why 24? Because he had admitted, under oath and in writing, that he intentionally started the fires that destroyed all 24 cigars. Ironically, the evidence used against him was his own insurance claim, where he had carefully described exactly how the fires occurred. When the judge saw the evidence, there wasn't much left to argue. In the end, the lawyer was sentenced to 2 years in prison and fined $24,000. How small can a country actually be? Imagine a nation that's smaller than a soccer field and has a population of only 5 people. It even once survived a military coup and had a confrontation with the British Royal Navy. That tiny country is called Principality of Sealand, located in the English Channel. Its entire territory is nothing more than an abandoned concrete sea fort. The story began during World War II, when Britain built offshore forts to help defend its coastline. After the war, many of those forts were abandoned. Then, in 1967, former British Army Major Roy Bates and his family moved on to one of them, known as HM Fort Ruys. At first, they weren't trying to start a country. They simply wanted to run a pirate radio station, an unlicensed broadcaster that played music for ships at sea while earning money from advertising. Before long, British authorities shut the operation down and fined Roy £100. Instead of giving up, Roy made a bold decision. "If I can't run a radio station here, I'll start my own country." And just like that, Sealand was born. At first, the nation had only 4 citizens: Roy, his wife, his son, and his daughter. Roy declared himself Prince. His wife became Princess. His daughter became a princess, and his son Michael became the heir to the throne. For a while, almost nobody paid attention. That changed in 1968 when a British patrol boat approached the platform. Roy fired warning shots into the air and declared that the vessel was violating Sealand's territory. British authorities charged him with illegally using firearm. But the court made a surprising ruling. Because the fort was located outside Britain's territorial waters at the time, the judge ruled that British courts had no jurisdiction over the incident. Roy saw that decision as proof that Sealand was truly independent. He immediately designed a national flag, coat of arms, anthem, passports, currency, and even appointed a prime minister. Meanwhile, Britain quietly demolished many of the other abandoned sea forts nearby to prevent anyone else from trying the same thing. But Sealand's strangest chapter was still ahead. In 1978, Sealand's Prime Minister Alexander Achenbach reportedly tried to seize control of the platform. While Roy was away, Alexander and a group of supporters took over Sealand and held Roy's son, Michael, captive. Roy wasn't about to surrender. Using contacts from his military days, he gathered a group of former soldiers, flew back by helicopter, and quickly retook the platform. Alexander was arrested and charged with treason. Since he was a German citizen, the incident drew the attention of Germany, which sent a diplomat to negotiate. After discussions, Alexander was released. Later, he reportedly printed around 150,000 Sealand passports and sold tens of thousands of them for about $10 each, making a huge profit before the passports were eventually declared invalid by many countries. As Sealand became famous, tourists from around the world began visiting. Prince Michael personally welcomed many of them and gave guided tours of the entire country, which took less than 5 minutes. To attract even more attention, Sealand even hosted an international marathon. Since the country is far too small for a real race, every participant competed on a treadmill instead. Then disaster struck. In 2006, an electrical generator caught fire. Within minutes, the blaze spread across almost the entire platform. The British Coast Guard responded, extinguished the fire, and rescued everyone by helicopter. Much of Sealand was left badly damaged. Later, Prince Michael brought workers from Britain to restore the platform. Today, Sealand still receives applications from people hoping to become citizens. Because space is so limited, citizenship is extremely restricted. Instead, Sealand found another way to raise money: On its official website, anyone can purchase a noble title. For around $40, they'll mail you an official certificate declaring you a lord, lady, baron, baroness, count, or another honorary title of Sealand.